What's up, everybody? Kind of a new setting for a video. I just wanted to be outside, but it's a little chilly right now and kind of windy, so I figured I'd just sit in the car. So as usual, I don't have a scripted out how I'm going to go through this video, what I'm going to talk about. I have a general idea of what I want to talk about, of course, but this stuff just comes out of nowhere, and a sudden fascination and interest with wanting to share this specific idea or subject or topic or thing that I've been thinking about. And in this video, I want to talk about what it is to talk, what it means to talk and to share and to communicate between one being and another being or multiple beings, what communication is and what it is really to understand someone else or even understand yourself, which at first glance might seem obvious, but we can live our lives in a way that we ourselves don't even understand why we're doing the things we're doing, why we feel the way we do, why we act the way we do, the habits we have. So this sense of understanding doesn't just go out to others, it has to do with ourselves as well, understanding ourselves. But just as importantly, what it means to not only communicate with another being, but to understand that being. What does that mean? What is it to communicate? And what is it to understand each other, or to understand them, or vice versa, to be understood? So the reason I want to share this video is because the past few weeks, I guess, maybe in the past month or so, I've been realizing, I started realizing it when I would smoke cannabis, because I don't smoke. I've told you many times now, I don't smoke nowhere near as much as I used to, but I've been building this very unique and very different relationship with cannabis. I'm sorry, I see somebody behind me. It looks like that's weird, man. Okay, so just real quick, the person I see right there is a neighbor, apparently, from China. She lives right down the road, but she's from China, and she walked over to me and my brother while we were harvesting, and that's where I'm parked right now, is right by my plants. Sorry for digressing, but I should just explain. This lady walked over, and she was asking, hey, can I pick the pears off your pear tree? Because we have a pear tree by the road over there. So like, sure, be my guest. But I just looked in my rear view, and she was back over here scouting out the area, wondering if I was out here. She might want some more pears, who knows. Like I said, I digress. What I was saying was, I don't smoke cannabis nowhere near as much as I used to, and I've built this very different relationship with it, where it's not just this recreational kind of enhance the feelings type. You know how people usually use drugs in a kind of recreational and shallow level of, are you using it to just have fun, or are you using it as a tool, And that's how it's come to feel for me, is that it's this tool, and I can't say what it does, but I smoke it, and it's in the same tier of psychedelics in the experience that I have is so intimate and so deep and so rich, and I get laughy and I get talky and I get really introspective and doing reflections on my own being, and it's just really interesting how cannabis affects me. But anyways, what I was saying was, this thing started to happen to me when I would smoke weed. I would get high, and it doesn't take me much anymore. I just take a few hits off a fresh bowl, and I'm feeling it. I actually smoked a little bit today. But this thing started happening to me where someone would be talking to me, whether it was a customer or a coworker or my brother or my grandfather or anybody really, or even I'm listening to a video of someone that I've listened to before, but they didn't really resonate in a deep way with me. But then I was high on cannabis, and I started to realize that regardless of who it is that's talking, they're saying these things, and it's like I'm actually seeing what they're talking about. I actually see what they're saying, not visually, but in a sense of understanding. I understand what they're saying. And it's different than what we would call normal communication. And maybe that's not the best thing, because normal communication, you just listen to the word, you hear the words they say, you get this immediate reflection of what it is they're talking about, and then you spew out your response of what it is that you think of what they just said, or what your vague response would be. But I would be on this cannabis, and this person would be talking. And it's like I'm not even listening to what they're saying, because I'm seeing what they mean. I'm feeling what they're actually talking about. It's piercing through the gross level of it, of the word, the verbal communication that that's where we're at, is we just hear the words, it means something, and we say something in response. I was starting to experience actually feeling what these beings are saying, feeling what these people are saying. I was really seeing what they meant. And it started to make me really wonder about communication. And what is this feeling of being so... There's no gap. I see what they're saying. And I started to kind of think about it and assimilate different ideas about it. And, I can give you an immediate example that these words right now, if these words I'm saying are not what I'm talking about, what I'm talking about is prior to the words. And the reason I share these words is because of the complexity of language itself, that these words hold a meaning or point a finger to a feeling or an experiential way of seeing things. And we use these words to share this experience, to share this information. And when I was on those cannabis experiences, and even still, I don't even have to be on cannabis, it's really just, I recognized it while after I had smoked weed. Communication is incredible, and what people are saying, anybody, the reason you say things is because you feel a certain thing, or there's an experience beyond words inside of us, seemingly inside of us, that we're utilizing these things called words to try and express. It's what I'm doing right now. There is an inner thing, an inner experience, perspective, if you will, that I'm wishing to share. And the only means I have to do that, to give you my perspective, is to play with these words. And words are very dodgy. And the definitions that we ascribe to these words, some words, have general definitions that are sort of mutual. But a lot of the time, we think differently than each other. Obviously, we think differently than each other. And not only do we think differently than each other, but what words mean to us is different. So when I say something like God, that means something to me. God represents something inside of me. Before I even say the word God, I have a feeling. I have a perspective. I have an emotional tie to this thing that I call God. But when I give you my sharing of what God is to me, and I even just say God, every single one of you are more than likely to have something different aroused in you, to have something just a little bit different, or maybe very different, vastly different. By me saying God, you come up with what you think God is. And in that, you make up what you think I mean. You don't actually see what I mean until, or if, I am able to do the thing by utilizing language in a tidy and articulated enough way to be able to give my inner before the word experience to you through the vehicle of vocabulary. And it's very advanced and it's very complex. And we, in general, sort of as a whole, that's hilarious. They are over there picking pears off my pear tree. She's like, I'm not even going to ask anymore. I'm just going to pick your pears. In general, as a whole, as a large mass society, we don't understand each other. We don't understand each other. We're trying to communicate. You can call communication on one level that just, hey, what's up? What do you believe in? How's your day been? Any sort of playful communication, playful dialogue. But what I'm talking about here is the inner, unwordable experience that I am, that you are, that those ladies over there picking pears are. Inner. The inner thing, the innermost being of us, reflecting out. We cannot, I can't give you my experience. And in that, you can't give me your experience. You can't be me. You are you and I am me. And what is that? What does that mean? Is that I have this inner being that is an assimilation of memories and different perspectives and different feelings and differentness. We can talk about the true self all we want. That, in essence, my I, the I that I am at its core, centered, and the I that you are is the same I. I look at you and I say you, but you don't look at you and say you. You say I when you look at you. But when you look at me, you say you. It's the same eye looking out. My eye is your eye. But this is very deep, this eye, and we often don't even associate with it or recognize it or remember it or maybe even comprehend it, because it's just so bare naked beingness with no legacy and no story and no communicatory expression, which is kind of what I'm talking about here, that it's hard to grasp the beingness that is one through and through this whole thing. That's what oneness is. But what I'm talking about here is we all feel like we're somebody. We all feel like me and my experience and my life and my journey and my legacy and my memories and my feelings and my goals and my problems, my fears, my desires, my perspective, my beliefs, you know? I have it, and I assume you have it. I assume you have a somebody that you are, and that does things and likes things and talks to people and dreams for things and is afraid of all of it. The humanness of us. As I said earlier, the kind of gross expression of somebodyness. Now things get complicated. Things get misconstrued, miscommunicated when we interact with each other. Because like I was saying earlier, I can't give you me. I can only describe myself. I can only describe what I think. I can only describe how I feel. I can only describe what I believe in. And so can you. And language is very slippery. Language is very, in a way, misleading. We get lost in the words themselves, the strings of sentences that we share between each other, losing sight of the fact that the very sharing of these words is a vehicle to each other. And that these words aren't what we mean. What we mean is in here, and I'm trying to give it to you. I'm trying to show you it. Or I'm trying to experience or accept into myself you, what you're saying. And we have language, we have sayings that are indicative of this. I see what you mean. I know what you're saying. I understand. I get it. I see what you're saying there. I feel you, man. All these little different things that are made up of words to say, hey, it came in. I got it. You did this thing. You delivered this presentation of vocabulary and imprinted on me this image, this perspective. And it's exciting. It's exciting. It's exciting. It's sort of everything. If somebody's telling you something very harsh and you see it, you don't just hear their words. You are given what they mean, how they actually feel. And we can talk about empathy in that sense of, yeah, it's not always exciting, but there is a connection. There's a connection where you and this being have just transcended the very words you're saying together and have conjoined experiences where one is over here, one is over here, but through the vehicle of speaking, through the vehicle of communicating, you have tuned into each other and are, in a sense, one in that communication, where you can really trust and you can really feel that this being is experiencing what you're saying. And the reason I said that's exciting earlier is because we all want to be understood. We all want to understand. And that's a very interesting idea right there, because I said that to a being, someone, a while ago. Sort of posed the question to them, would you rather be understood or understand? Would you rather be seen or be able to see? And it goes hand in hand. We want to behold the other being. We want to understand the other being. We want beyond the words, because the words are in essence empty. The words are empty. There's nothing there. And that's why conversations will die out, because this person said this thing and you're just listening to their words. It's just words. You don't recognize that there's a being behind that. There's a being sharing that. And not only, I keep talking about the excitement, but the miraculousness of realizing that there is there is someone just like you right behind those words. And they're trying to tell you something. They're trying to give you something. They're trying to give you their experience. See, when I sit here and think silently, notice how you're not being given my direct expression. You're merely witnessing me being and making of that what you will. I wonder what he's thinking. I wonder what he's going to say next. I wonder why he's making this video, whatever it is. Maybe you're not even thinking about this and you're already somewhere else. You know, and that just brings into context focus and attention. When you're communicating with somebody, are you actually listening with the intent to grasp what they're saying? Or is it just another, jibby jabble? I'm communicating with someone. I'm just talking to someone. Like whether it's the cashier, you know, or a coworker, or a customer, or a relative, a loved one, whoever. We all have something to share. We all have something to offer. It's tricky. Because sometimes we want to experience another being, what they are, what they have to share, what they think, how they feel. But they're not willing to utilize any vehicle to deliver themselves. They're not willing to use the route of administration of their experience of things. For instance, if I just wasn't to be making this video, you wouldn't know that this is how I'm feeling, how I'm thinking, what I'm thinking about. But because I'm sitting here and taking a moment to express and utilize these weird words that we've made up, you're able to be given this at least idea of what it is that I'm desperately trying to convey. And the reason I say desperately is because I just see it all around with so many people I know, people in my family, friends, strangers, random posts I see on the internet. We don't feel heard. We don't feel seen. We definitely don't feel understood. And we're very quick to go, yeah, see, I understand what you're saying. I hear you. I see you. But do you see me? Do you see me? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how I feel? I understand you, but do you understand me? And we're both in that party. So we're both sitting there saying, yeah, but do you, you know? As simple as someone saying hi to you, or you saying hi to someone, what you mean isn't the sharing of the word hi. The idea, what you mean, is greetings. You know, hi, here, hey, hi. What does that mean? Here I am, I see you. You know? There's another life form. Hello there, hi out there, you're over there, I'm in here. How you doing over there, you know? As simple as hi is an inner expression of our being sharing, reaching out, generally to another being. I mean, unless you talk to the plants and the sky and the leaves and bugs and all that stuff, you know? Which I'd be guilty if I said I don't. Or the birdies. See, what can be frustrating, and yeah, you know, you can recognize this with like gurus as well, or monks and yogis and sadhus and all that stuff. Great teachers, but also your immediate friends, your immediate family, anybody really. They're not, like I was saying earlier, they're not willing to give you a vehicle to understand them, with that vehicle being words. They're not willing to sit down and tell you how it is. They're not willing to sit down and utilize their consciousness power to distill their experience down into words and to give it to you. And usually with gurus, it's the recognition that you don't need me to say something for you to get what I'm trying to tell you. In fact, me not saying anything is going to more clearly and more visibly express to you what I'm trying to teach you. My words will only confuse you. My words will only cloud your mind even more. And typically because they're aware of the complexity of language and words and communication and what it is to understand someone. They're not gonna even play that dance. They're not even gonna do that. It's better for them to just look at you, or to just sit there emanating, being what they mean, you know? walking their talk, or in this case, their lack of talk, being what they mean. And something very incredible is when they don't even need to say anything and you get it. You see, oh, okay, I see what you're saying, but they're not saying anything. And that makes you want to go, is this what you mean, Mr. Guru Man? That you and I are one and we don't have to say anything because we're always been that one and there's nothing to do about it? Who knows? Who knows? You know what I mean? But just thinking in regards to like general daily life, or relationships that we have, or friendships, or family. Communication is everything but normal. Just because it happens a lot, regularly, maybe even habitually, just because it happens a lot doesn't mean it's normal. Communication itself is life beingness trying to touch the point of another, or trying to be touched by the other, the inner being, where you can be sitting with someone right in front of them, and it's almost like we're saying to each other, how can I know you? How can I be you? How can I know that you're not playing with me? How can I know that you understand me? How can I know that you're there too? How can we trust each other? How can we become one? You know, I think somebody's sitting there telling you something. I thought that was someone I knew. Behind the scenes, when you're really listening, you're trying to bring them into you. Or maybe, in a sense, bring yourself into them. You may have even realized this yourself, that when somebody's telling you something relatively deep, or something that means a lot to them, something that's really emotional, really heavy loaded stuff, you'll start to tune in to what they're saying and realize, wow, what are they going through? How do they feel? How do they feel about life? What is this life to them? What are they thinking from day to day? And then you realize in that moment they're sharing that. And, you know, to tie back into this thing I was sharing with cannabis was that it really happened when, it had happened very vaguely times before, but it really happened one time at work. I had smoked a little bit and I was listening to a video of a sort of lecturer teacher. And I hadn't listened to him very extensively prior. I had listened to him, but it was almost like I was just listening to him. I wasn't understanding him. I was just listening. But this time, high on cannabis, I put his video on and I realized, like, I was just blown away. This guy is sharing gold. This guy is sharing riches, a reservoir of himself. And the reason he's talking is to give me that. And it was this feeling of complete connection with him, of like, damn, dude, I see what you're saying. I feel you. I feel you, man. I feel what you're saying there. And that sort of sparked the realization, or the beginning to question and ponder on this thing I'm talking about here, where that is the goal of communication. That is the goal of talking to each other. Is that the reason I'm talking is because there's this invisible, visceral experience that isn't words at all. It's life. And I'm trying to dial in that experience of just openness and life itself, the raw nakedness of my life, quote unquote, my life itself, and bring that down and share it with you by using words. And man, when you get what someone's saying, I keep saying it, it's exciting. Or it could be heartbreaking. Or it could be nerve-wracking. Or it could be anything, depending on the sort of what they're sharing with you, what they're going through. When you really get what someone's saying, you're literally on their level. You are now one, in essence. You are two meeting as one. And you just go say, wow, I see what you're saying. I know what you mean. And because of the lack of communication and the miscommunication and the lack of understanding one another, when you say, I know what you mean, or I feel for you, they're very apt, they're very likely to say, do you really though? Do you know what I mean? How? How do you know how I feel? How do you know? Because deep down they don't even trust that it's even possible to be understood. For someone to really feel what they're saying. It's in me too. It's in me too. It's this feeling like the image I shared of sitting in front of a being and you're really trying to meet. Really meet. Not just get the bodies together, but really meet. And in you is the question, how can I trust you? How do I know you know what I mean? How do I know you really hear what I'm saying right now? Are these just words and you're just putting them together? Or are you feeling in a conscious, present way what I'm sharing? And you know, the ego comes into a very big play here of, we're very quick to say, no one understands me. But how many people do you understand? How many people do you really listen when they're expressing to you? How many people do you really feel them? By looking at that, by analyzing that, you may recognize that's why we feel so distrustful in communication. That's why we feel so separate. Is because I don't understand any of these people. How are they going to understand me? You know, as my friend said a while back, it takes two to tango, you know? If you don't feel understood, it goes hand in hand because you don't understand others. That sun's popping out now. Language is very far out. Just take someone who speaks a completely foreign language that you don't understand even a bit of, even a little bit of it. They could be telling the most deep, complex, articulated, very well articulated story, sharing something. But to you, you have the slightest clue in the world what they even are trying to share at all. All you see is, as I said earlier, is the gross level of it. The sound of their voice and the facial features and the tone and which maybe if they're from a different culture, the tones don't even mean what you think they mean. And the facial features don't even mean what you think they mean. And you realize, I am just out in the wind right now. I have the slightest clue of what this person means. And we think that just because we speak the same language, with our friends and our family and any of that, oh, we understand each other. But do we really understand each other? Or are we just, they say a word and an image pops up in our mind. They say a word, the sound comes in, we know what that sound means, we've assimilated that sound, we've coordinated that sound to mean this in my head. So when they say it, I think this. Like I was saying earlier about God. When I say God, you think this. And I have the slightest control over what you think I mean, what you think I'm saying. I could say a whole sentence, like I'm doing right now, this whole video. And what it means to you is not in my power at all. It's completely free now for interpretation. It's open for discussion, as you hear people say. It's completely yours now and what you make of it. And to understand each other is like the task or the question. Do you have what it takes to not only navigate through the maze of vocabulary that you're using and someone's sharing with you, but not only that, but to make identical what you mean a word to be with what they mean a word to be? Like if I wanted you to understand God, what I think God is, not only do I have to describe what God is to me, but then I have to go in and all the words I described God to be, I have to make sure that you think you define that word as the same thing that I do. You know what I mean? Language is very complex, and language is very misleading, and language is very fascinating. It's why I sit here and share all these videos and talk about all this crazy shit, is because I have this inner experience that looks out at this complete and utter mystery and says, what the hell is this? What are all these feelings? What are all these interactions? What are all these experiences I'm having? And want to share it, to be here and to show my image, to share with you my experience, to see what you have to say about it, and maybe even to relate, really to relate. We say a word and then we describe what it means with other words. And like I was saying, we all kind of have this general, a mutual understanding of this word means that, this word means that. You know, I say hi, it means I'm seeing you. I don't say hi when I'm leaving, you know? It'd be kind of funny. Or I show up and say bye, see you later. We'd immediately be like, what the fuck? We have a general language that we share to just kind of just understand each other enough so that I kind of know what you're talking about and you know what I'm talking about. But things get weird when we start talking about deeper, fundamental things to ourselves. How we feel about the world, how we feel about life, how we feel about other people, how we feel about who we're talking to, you know, what we believe in, what we think life is. They're very, you know, people say it's so classic. Oh, that's deep. That's too deep. It's too far out, man. That's because it pierces beyond the level of just casual language, and it starts to awaken a mystery of, wow, we really don't know what the fuck's going on right now, you know? I remember, think about the word understanding for a moment. What does it mean to understand someone or to understand something? There are many different connotations to what it means of you get it, it makes sense to you. But me and my brother really, you know, we were on psychedelics one night and really dissected what does it mean to understand. And we realized the word itself, understand, says what it means. To understand, to stand under what it is we're sharing, to be the foundation of the thing being expressed, to hold the thing up in the picture perfect way it's trying to be shared. When you understand something or when you understand someone, you are in essence the foundation for them to express out of or off of, and you hold all of what they are saying, all of what they mean, whether in entirety or in a given context. Understand means exactly what it says, to stand under the label itself, and to understand and behold the actual thing that's being shared, which is energy, which is spirit, which is self talking to self, talking to self, talking about self, to self. It's energy. It's energy. It's formless. It's an experience. This right now is not words. We realize the fumbly nature of words in something as in a simple little experiment of describe to me the color red. You know, you start thinking, oh well, I can't describe here I'll describe things like fire and anger and blood. But you described those things because they are associated through words with red. But red itself, tell me about that. What is red? Don't tell me things that we call red. Tell me about red. And we're at a loss for words. We're stumped. Because we've come to the actual thing. We've come to the actual point. Red is the point. Tell me about red. Red. That's it. Red. You know? Reminds me of Alan Watts talking about You go up to a river and you point at the river and you say, "What is that?" You know, you're talking to someone and they say, "Oh, that's water." And you say, that's not water. That's that. It is what it means. And it means what it is, you know? The water isn't the word water. The word water doesn't quench your thirst. The word food doesn't feed you. Water is the experience of water. The actual runningness, the feel of it, the drinking of it, and the trickling of it down our throats. The experience of the water, the feeling, everything about it. Everything except for the label we've given it is what it actually is. Don't hassle yourself. Don't give yourself a hard time for, "Oh, I don't understand what they mean. Oh, I misunderstood that. Oh, I can't explain myself. Oh," you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Don't worry about it, because that's all expression, that's all communication is miscommunication. The communication itself is not it at all. It's an attempt, it's a vehicle, it's a route to try and connect with someone, with others, to try and experience each other. Imagine, somewhere you hear people say, "Oh, try walking a day in my shoes," and say to them, "Well, here, just describe it to me, then I'll get it." Both of you will immediately realize that won't do it justice. And the guy that said it, definitely not. Because, it's not just my description of it, it's my experience of how I actually feel and what I go through every day, and I can't describe that. You need to walk a day in my shoes. And what they're saying is, you need to be me. Be me to get what I mean, You have to be me to understand me. And vice versa, I have to be you to really get down with you, whatever this you is. When I say these words right now, these very words right now, there is a prior feeling, an energy, formless in nature, that is utilizing this thing called language to try and share mutually what I seem to be exclusively experiencing. Quote unquote, my experience in comparison to your experience or their experience or the experience of the sky or this car or whatever. Language, what we say in a communication is not what we actually mean. What we're saying is a sheer attempt to express the inexpressible. The thing, the innermost thing that is the very root and core of why we feel separate from everything and everyone around us. Because, you don't know how I feel. You don't understand me. Little me in here up against the world and everyone in it. Nobody knows what it's like for me. Nobody knows how I feel. Nobody knows or nobody sees or nobody cares for or recognizes the me inside. Even if they seem to be understanding me and there for me and listening to me, how can I trust that they actually know how I feel? It's an inner paranoia, really. That births, it's a hard word to say, this feeling of separation. We're all running around asking each other, am I you? Are you me? Are we one? Why is it that we seem like two? Are you actually over there? Do you see me? You see me over here? I see you, but like, how can I get to you deeper? How can I really get to where you are? You know? It's far out shit. It's far out shit. And arguments and differing beliefs and, in the sense of differing beliefs, this isn't to say that when you understand each other, you're going to identically think the same thing. Because that's what differing beliefs are, which tie into things beyond communication, which have to do with desire and motivation and intent and interest and fascination. If you understand me, that doesn't mean you're interested in the same things that I am. It's difference. There's different and different hanging out together. Different hanging out with different. Everything's different. Everything's different. It's one. It's all one playing field here of the I. But it's all different. It's all unique. So I don't want that to come across, that understanding each other or really feeling someone else means you think identically and feel identically about everything. To a very subtle extent, to really understand what someone's saying. And that really is the basis of being open-minded. Closed-mindedness is someone that holds up the background of what they think and how they feel, and when someone says something, judges everything about it that they said based on how they feel and how they think and what they believe in and all that. That is, I forgot what I was going to say there. Oh, that is closed-mindedness. That is closed-mindedness. Open-mindedness is the essence of feeling the childlike, fresh wonder and awe in something that maybe you don't even believe in or you haven't even thought about. And how can you, especially if you haven't thought about it, how do you already know how you feel about it if this for the first time is being shared with you? That's definitely closed-mindedness. If someone shares something that you haven't heard about, but you have a sort of waiting, lingering in the background bias about it, that's closed-mindedness. Open-mindedness most certainly helps, definitely helps in communicating and understanding each other, because you're not behind the scenes at the ready to judge everything they're saying and judge that's what they believe in, and does that line up with my morals and how I feel and how my perspectives on things. And that's not it, man. That's not. Open-mindedness is to experience what they're saying and to consider it, to really, wow, that's far out. It's crazy. It's crazy. I hope you guys see what I'm saying here. Of course I do. That's literally what I'm talking about. That's why we talk, and that's really what we're looking for in communication and in sharing, is I'm handing you this little thing, this little cookie, hoping that you can behold what I'm sharing and see what I mean, you know? No wonder we get in arguments. No wonder we feel separate. No wonder we don't feel understood. No wonder we don't understand others. No wonder we have a certain type of friend group. No wonder we're attracted or not attracted to this person or that person. Because we don't understand each other. We're working with very limited tools. That takes a lot of commitment and a lot of sharing and a lot of focus and presence to really grasp each other, to be each other, to transcend the difference that's coming through in the words of the mind and what we're sharing, and to really sit together as one, even in the midst of talking, you know? So yeah, communication and understanding each other. What is communication? What does it mean to understand each other? I think I'll stop the video here. Kind of got to use the bathroom if I'm gonna be honest. Spend the day today harvesting out of my cannabis garden. Figured I'd just throw that in there as a little piece of information. But yeah, if you watch this video, thank you guys so much for watching. I say it every time, I love making these videos. It's so therapeutic to just share that thing, share the inner beingness, and let it trickle around wherever it may go and be perceived as whatever it may be perceived as. Love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you see even a little bit of what I'm saying here. And I'll see you guys later.